Let's start with a story that was in the news about a month ago. And it has to do with a Florida man, of course. So a Florida man goes to his local bar. He meets another man at the bar from whom he decides to purchase some methamphetamine. Because that's what you do at your local bar, you pick up some meth. So he takes the meth home and he tries it, and he thinks the meth is low quality. It might not even be meth at all. He thinks it might be bath salts. So he wants to get his meth tested to see if it's real. And do you know who you call to get your meth tested? I didn't know either. But evidently this guy does. And he dials up 911. Oh, yes, he does. So the deputies come to his house. And he proceeds to tell the deputies, I am an experienced drug user. I've done meth before, and I know what it should feel like. And it gets better. He then asks the deputies to test the meth. So the deputies get from him 2 small baggies filled with white crystal-like substance. And the deputies field test it, and voila, it tests positive for meth. They haul him away to jail on possession of drug charges. A fine example of PAFU. People are fucked up. So the definition of PAFU, for you, just so you know, is when someone's behavior completely ignores the norm of what is considered reasonable and acceptable. It defies logic and rational thinking, and it disregards common sense and reason. The short version is illogical behavior that is inexplicable. So one more example to move on so that we're all on the same page. And a little closer to home, maybe more relevant, are the comments made by Phil Mickelson about the Saudis and the Saudi Golf League. I don't know how many people have read this, but let me paraphrase what Phil said. They're scary motherfuckers. We know they killed Khashoggi. They have a horrible record on human rights. Very nice, Phil, but you know what? Let's all go out and play some golf and have some fun. So when people are PAFU, I'm going to come down here a little bit. When people are PAFU, you shake your head in disbelief. And sometimes you think in your head or whisper under your breath, holy shit. Or you might whisper, what the fuck? Some of you may be inclined to even shout out, what the hell is wrong with you? So PAFU behavior takes its toll on relationships. At home, with family and friends, and at work. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2019, the last year we had a good economy before the pandemic, they reported work separations were 45% that year. That means, on average, half the employees of a business quit that year. Interestingly enough, in 2021, that same 45% statistic was the divorce rate as well. Yes. Yes. So, not all divorces and not all work separations are caused by PAFU behavior, but they contribute in a very big way. Harvard did a study. They surveyed 60,000 employees from all different businesses. And they found that 80% said they lost work time worrying about a coworker's behavior and thinking about how they were going to deal with it. 66% reported they lost work time avoiding the coworker, and 63% actually admitted that their performance declined. So, there are a lot of reasons why people leave their jobs. Two of the top reasons, though, are they have a horrible boss and work is no longer enjoyable. And what contributes to horrible bosses and a lack of enjoyment at work? PAFU. So when the work environment tolerates PAFU behavior, it devalues the company culture. If there's even a positive company culture to begin with. I worked, as most of you know, for Marriott for 44 years.
Wow.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, they never figured me out, so that's why I worked that long. In 1927, J.W. Marriott Sr. started the company with the underlying foundation philosophy being, if you take care of your employees, the employees will take care of the customers, and the customers will come back again and again. The number one value in Marriott was put people first. So you can imagine the outrage when a director of sales at a Marriott didn't abide by that philosophy. This particular hotel was welcoming back a very valuable and loyal client. He was not coming for business, he was bringing his wife and family, so it was personal. So he asked one of his staff members to have flowers in the room upon their arrival. So the staff member sends an email to the director of sales at this hotel requesting a dozen roses and a note to be left in the room saying, "It's so nice to have my family here." Not an unusual request in the hotel business, especially to the director of sales who would typically handle this client's business. But this is the response from the director of sales. I want to read it because I don't want to miss a word. "I am not exactly sure what you think my role is, but I can tell you it is not to fetch flowers for your boss. He can do that himself, or you can in your role. The fact that you even asked me and then wanted me to fill out a note as well is beyond ridiculous. Later today, when I see Adam at the club, I'm going to show him this request and tell him he needs to get his staff in line." PAFU much? Yeah. Yes, indeed. I'm not sure if that director of sales is working at that hotel anymore. I'm pretty sure that the client is not booking as much business there. And PAFU behavior leads to a loss of revenue, and it causes employee turnover, which creates costs for the business, reducing their profitability. One other statistic from that Harvard study, it estimated that the cost of turnover was 1.5 to 2 times the salary of the position being replaced. The annual salary. Pretty bad. So PAFU behavior is annoying and irritating. We all know that. I'm sure most of you have come into contact or had interactions with someone that just might be PAFU. It might be at home, not my home, but it might be at home. It might be on the golf course, likely, and it's certainly at work. There are many reasons why people leave and quit their jobs. And there are many PAFU behaviors at work causing horrible bosses and creating an unfriendly or a lack of enjoyment in the work environment. It could be the condescending and argumentative know-it-all. It could be the windbags and ramblers who tell their story and go on and on and on and on, and they never seem to get to the point. Or it could be the gossip mongers who love to talk about people behind their backs and pass judgment. But today, I only want to talk about one PAFU behavior, and that is the interrupter. Interrupting is annoying. We don't welcome it, we don't appreciate it, we don't invite it. In my 44 years with Marriott.
What do you mean?
Thank you for demonstrating, Tom. In my 44 years with Marriott, I can't remember one time, never, did someone approach me or did I ever go up to somebody else and say, hey, if you wouldn't mind, today when we're in the meeting, while I'm speaking, it would be great. It would be really great if you would constantly and repeatedly interrupt me. Thanks so much. People who interrupt just interject, as demonstrated, mid-sentence. They don't care what you have to say, and they're not listening. So, a friend of mine, after he read the book and the chapter called Pardon the Interruption, Paul, former colleague at Marriott, called me to tell me, after he read that chapter, that he had a regional boss who was a chronic interrupter. And as he was reading that chapter, it brought back some bad memories. Because this regional person, when he would have regional GM meetings, this person would interrupt everybody all the time throughout the meeting. It got so bad that they started counting during the meeting how many times this person interrupted them. And after the meeting, they would all get together and compare notes on what the tally was. So interrupting is disruptive to the conversation and to the discussion, because people are always on edge whether or not you're going to be interrupted again and again. If there's a disaster or a crisis, that's a good reason to interrupt. If the building is on fire and we have to evacuate, please interrupt. Otherwise, zip it. So when people are PAFU, like the interrupter, they need to be told, you need to address it. People might not realize that they are annoying and irritating. Some people don't have the self-awareness to recognize that what they say and do is bothering you or bothering other people. So you need to provide them feedback, especially at work. At home, your friends and family might tolerate your PAFU-ness because in most homes there's unconditional love. But that is not likely at work. So before we move on how to address it, it's important that you validate that someone is PAFU. Some people have a low or zero threshold or tolerance for being irked or miffed or annoyed. And just because someone's bothering you doesn't mean that person is PAFU. In fact, as I'm saying this, I was writing this, I realized that if you're easily bothered by what other people say and do, you might be PAFU. So once you validate that they're PAFU by discussing with others that the person's behavior and what they say and do is annoying or it's disruptive to the work environment, you need to address it. I have two different names for how you provide feedback. I have a preference, but I'd like to know if there's a preference amongst this group. The first name is called Build a Bridge, and the second name is called Be a Dick. Any preference? Yeah. So you're saying bridge, but you really want to say be a dick.
You try the bridge, then you go for the other.
Thank you, Linda. Good point. But before you try either method, the most important thing you need to do to get permission so the person knows that what you have to say is serious. At home, your spouse may simply blurt out, "You are such an asshole."
Never.
But wouldn't it sound better if your spouse first said, honey, can I give you some feedback? Why, sure. You are such an asshole. Message received. So there are some effective ways to ask for permission that make it sound important. You could say simply, I have something important that I would like to talk to you about. When would it be a good time? You could say, I have an observation that I'd like to share with you. Or you could say, there's been something bothering me that I think we should discuss. Would that be all right? So there are good ways to sort of ease into it. But once you get permission, you can then be a dick. Or you can build a bridge first. But we're going to be a dick tonight. Okay? So first, D, be direct. It's more effective if you get right to the point. Don't sugarcoat it. Just tell a person, you are PAFU. Or you can have another phrase that you like to use, but get right to the point. Again, don't sugarcoat. And don't minimize the issue by telling them about all the other positive attributes they have. Okay? That just muddies the water and takes away from the PAFU issue. So be direct, give it to them straight. I, be informative. Okay? Once you've ripped off the Band-Aid, you need to give them examples, or you need to give facts on how their behavior is affecting you or bothers you and maybe bothers others if it's appropriate. C, be caring. Don't yell, don't get agitated, stay calm. It's important to give clear examples of their behavior to keep the message clear. Okay? Study after study has been told on leaders that one of the top qualities of leaders is radical honesty. When you're caring, you're focused on the individual and their needs. So be caring. And K is be kind. Speak thoughtfully. Okay, again, keep with the examples. Listen, but don't judge. Tell the person that you'll assist them in recognizing when they are PAFU. Thank them for listening. Thank them for talking, because after all, you don't actually have to be a dick. So thank you all for coming tonight. I appreciate it.